aside from the Schumann, you're going to be singing some of your own music, something new as well from your new album.
I'll probably dip very, very lightly into the new album. The new album is actually quite free of piano. And I really want to keep this very, very unified in being just piano and voice. But I'm writing, as part of this piece that has been commissioned, I'm also writing a brand new piece. So there will be something new of mine as well.
Right. And tell me about your choices of these 9 composers. For sake of honesty, of course, I'm one of those 9.
Disclosure.
What binds this group of young composers together?
I think what binds them is their aesthetic variety. I think that I was really looking to pull from every corner of the aesthetic spectrum. So on the one hand, we have composers like Chris Thile and Shara Worden, who come very much from a pop tradition, although both of their experiences as musicians are colored by either past or present interaction with the classical music world. In Shara's case, Shara was an opera student, a master's student at MSM before she became the front woman of My Brightest Diamond.
And also sings with the Decemberists.
Decemberists, but then she's singing for Sarah Kirkland Snyder in Penelope, which is, again, more in the sort of new music realm. And then someone like Chris Thile, mandolin virtuoso and frontman of Punch Brothers, he has really created a unique hybrid with that band where it's as much chamber music, contemporary chamber music, as it is bluegrass. I often feel, I would say among the 9 composers, I feel a kind of compositional kinship most with him in the sense that he and I have a commitment to really sort of pushing the outer limits of what tonal music can be in 2010. So there's a sort of commitment to not looking backward, but using functional harmony and how far can it be exploded.
It seemed to me that many of the composers on this list have some kind of allegiance to tonality in one way or another.
In different ways, you know, someone like Timo Andres, I think, is an interesting composer because while there is clearly an influence from, you know, the post-minimalist school and maybe from John Adams specifically, his incredibly brilliant pianism adds a kind of layer of virtuosity to his writing and also of harmonic interest that is not always present in that school. And I think he actually, like Chris, is someone who I think has a commitment to tonality in that sense. You know, on the other side of the spectrum, we have composers like Brett Banducci and yourself, and perhaps maybe Andrew Norman, who are writing really fiercely complex music that's extremely beautiful. And then there's everything in between, and I'm really interested in once I've received all the scores and learned all of them, finding a way to shape them in such a way that's not necessarily just going from one end of the spectrum to the other, but creating stark juxtapositions and really finding a way to help each piece.
Because the texts aren't necessarily all the same.
The texts are not necessarily all the same. Quite a few of them are by a poet who's a dear friend of mine, Alison Carter, who studied and now teaches at Cal Arts in Valencia, California. And there's a kind of juicy taste in her language, which I had a suspicion would lend itself to setting. And I think 3 or 4 of the composers have chosen to work with her texts. Timo is writing, or has written, 4 miniatures based on a parenting manual online. For example, how to hold your child, how to put your child down, how to be on a seesaw with your child, this kind of thing.
Do you think that one of the underlying binders for this project could be that all of us knew we were writing specifically for you?
Oh.
And so that rather than a composer who, like perhaps Charles Ives, who wrote one symphony after another with no performer in sight, we all knew that your voice, your hands would be playing it. And do you think that we are all in some way shaping our music to make you sound as best as possible?
I mean, I would hope so. And I think, this, as you know, this commission came together very last minute by the standards of how commissioning goes. And I sort of credit that with the peculiarity of this project. I don't think anyone, any of the 9 composers, had ever been asked to write something for a singing pianist before. And so I think that even though we're all very busy, there was something compelling about this that maybe had very little to do with me and more the unique challenge of writing for someone who's going to be doing double duty, as it were. I would like to think that and have been led to believe that people are writing with me in mind. And so I do think that will be a unifying principle. But I also think that each of these composers has a unique challenge with this project to deal with 2 performers in one, in a sense. And I think that creates a sort of host of possibilities that are maybe not always present.
Mm. And do you consider the 9 songs that will eventually be as one cycle? Do you think that they can exist as one cycle?
Well, I don't think we'll know until we've seen all of them and try to arrange them. And it may be that one will stick out like a sore thumb, or that 5 will go together beautifully and 4 will not. And I think that's my plan with learning all this material very quickly, is to really not give any consideration to how to shape it until I've really learned it all cold. And at that point, go about sort of curating and ordering the material. And I would be delighted to discover that it will stand together as a cycle.
Like an exquisite corpse, in a way.
Like an exquisite corpse.
You know the game where you hide the sentence that you've written, you pass it on to a friend.
Yes,
they complete it.
Yes. Yeah, precisely.
Perhaps in the end we'll have a complete story that holds together.
Well, and I think something else that will be interesting is to look for the unifying signifiers in each of the songs. I suspect that because everyone is at least slightly familiar with my voice and with my work, that there is probably some element that everyone has glommed onto.
Right.
And it will be really interesting to see what, if any, that would be. Yeah.
It would be. Well, we're all looking forward to your concert.
Thank you.
See you there.